in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals
but there are
have been properly
30,000
vetted.
people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted.
Good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few.
She's trying to tell the vice president of the country what is and what isn't. And he's like right back at her. They're all vetted. You mean like the guy who did the stuff in Oklahoma? You mean like that guy? You sure about that?
Months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly, he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted, and because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
The Wall Street Journal and...
I don't care. He looked her right in the face because she's trying to excuse this one guy and said, look, it might have happened before, while he was here. I don't care. I don't care. I don't want that ideology in my country where my kids are. And I don't understand what these people don't think, what they don't understand. From the guy Petro in Colombia, all the way to our media, and you saw CNN whining. He just went, and just over and over and over. And now her looking pained, like she's sitting on a pineapple. Trying to, this one guy, it was just one guy, it's just one gang, it's always just one thing. Can't we just get over it? Just one guy shot up all these people, it's just one guy who did this, they just took over one apartment complex, it's okay. What if it was yours? What if it was where you lived? What if you were on Bourbon Street? What if you were in Oklahoma? What if your family, your daughter, your son, your mom, your dad, would you care if it was just one time? But you're asking Americans to not react badly. It just happens once in a while.
National Review, conservative publications, as you know, have been critical of Tulsi Gabbard. The Review called her an atrocious nominee who deserves to be defeated. They compared her defense of Edward Snowden, the fugitive who stole U.S. secrets, to an attorney general who thinks the mob gets a bad rap. Her refusal to accept U.S. intelligence findings that Assad gassed his own people, they said, was like a nominee for OMB director not being able to count. Does any of this give you pause putting her in charge of the U.S. intelligence community? Yes or no?
No, Margaret, look, these are publications that attacked Donald J. Trump obsessively, but those publications don't determine who the president is, the American people do.
Him.
And Donald J. Trump is the person who determines who his cabinet is, not these publications that I think, frankly, have lost relevance.
The Senate will.
At some point, some of these people might just want to wave the white flag. And they posted it. They actually let it run. He's wiping the floor with her, and she's talking about a publication, the National Friggin' Review, who hates Trump, and he had to remind her, they don't pick the policy. They don't pick the cabinet. It's Trump who picks them. Why do we care what the people at the National Review think? Why are you asking me questions about a third-rate website? Think about it, Margaret. You're asking the Vice President of the United States to comment on what this website had to say when he talks every day to the president. The president who announced for months that Tulsi Gabbard, RFK Jr., and Kash Patel would be a part of his cabinet. But no, this website says this. At one point, he just should look her in the eye again and go, I don't give a shit. I mean, that is the answer. You're asking me to respond and give credence to a website. That's what you want me to do. Wow.
The
ultimately
Gabbards.
decide?
Well, the Senate will provide advice and consent as is its constitutional obligation, but I feel confident that Tulsi Gabbard will ultimately get through. Two things that are important to know about Tulsi. First of all, she is a career military servant who's had a classification at the highest levels for nearly 2 decades. She has impeccable character, impeccable record of service, and she also is a person who I think is going to bring some trust back to the intelligence services. The bureaucrats at our intelligence services have gotten completely out of control. They've been part of the weaponization of our political system, the weaponization of our justice system. We need to have good intelligence services who keep us safe, but part of that is restoring trust in those services, and we think Tulsi is the right person to do it. That's
She
why the
doesn't trust
president,
those intelligence services.
she recognizes that the bureaucrats have gotten out of control, and we need somebody there who's going to rein them in and return those services to their core mission of identifying information that's going to keep us safe. Let me just...
So what you just heard there, Margaret, yes, Tulsi doesn't even, have confidence in them. Exactly. That's what all of this is all about. It goes all the way back to the beginning. So the director of national intelligence, who we're going to be working hand in hand with the CIA director and hand in hand with the Department of Defense, is going to have all this information, all this chatter, everything. They're going to have it all. They're the ones who have their hands in the cookie jar and it deals with all of the other agencies. They are basically one of the hubs that feed the various spokes. National intelligence. So that they can say, hey, here's this. Homeland, hey, Christy, you need that. She is going to be the facilitator of information. The deep state is terrified. Absolutely terrified. Because now we're going to find out why this guy in Colombia is freaking out and is willing to die to keep the newcomers coming. See, all this stuff is what they're really worried about. That's why those 51 people who signed the letter that says that Hunter's laptop was real, that's why they're all freaking out that they had their security clearances revoked. You no longer get to look in here and see what's going on. You are now going to be on the outside looking in, as it should be. They're cleansing all of these people. Fired all these inspector generals. Get rid of all of them. We don't want people who shouldn't be looking in and then giving what they're seeing to other countries. And the rats right now are scurrying. They're terrified because they're about to be locked out. Completely shut out.
This particular issue, Margaret, because as a practicing Catholic, I was actually heartbroken by that statement. And I think that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops needs to actually look in the mirror a little bit and recognize that when they receive over $100 million to help resettle illegal immigrants, are they...
Okay. So, this big global object, giant monolith of people getting money globally, hundreds and millions, maybe billions of dollars, all working in cohesion to facilitate newcomers coming to, well, they've already basically taken over Europe, but now we need to get them over here, and now Trump's won. And so, the coalition of Christian crooks, Catholic crooks, whatever it's called, they got $100 million to move people over here. And so the Pope decides he's going to, wave the finger at Trump now and go, you're doing very bad. I went to Rome. Rob and I went to Rome. We did the whole catechism, whatever you call it, all the way underneath the Vatican, did the tour in the tombs and walked around and St. Peter's Square, and it was just awesome. And I didn't see any illegals. There were no tents. Big, vast. You've seen it. You've seen, the piazza. It's huge. You've seen the big, huge wall with the gun turrets. Oh, it's amazing. It's a beautiful structure. Then you go inside and go, oh my God, there must be gazillion dollars worth of gold in here. And you have churches all around the world, Catholic churches, which I went to, full disclosure, as a young boy. I was an altar boy, taking money every Sunday from billions of people. But you didn't have any illegals in St. Peter's Square. There were none in all these 150, 500 rooms in the Vatican. Every time we walked in one, nope, it was gold and looked perfect. Didn't see one newcomer. But you want to wave your hand at us. You want to point fingers and say, Trump's doing bad. Come on, Pope. You got a whole lot of land out there. I bet you could put 600 tiny houses in that square. Probably more. I bet you have churches and archdioceses across the country. Shut down those churches. Let people in. Move in. Turn them into, commercial housing. Bring them all in. You're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. And you're part of the global movement as well.
Worried about humanitarian concerns, or are they actually worried about their bottom line? We are going to enforce immigration law. We're going to protect the American people.
Yeah.
Donald Trump promised to do that. And I believe the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, if they're worried about the humanitarian costs of immigration enforcement, let them talk about the children who have been sex trafficked because of the wide open border of Joe Biden.
You personally
let them talk
support
about
them going into
people like
schools
Laken
and
Riley
churches.
who were brutally murdered. I support us doing law enforcement against violent criminals, whether they're illegal immigrants or anybody else, in a way that keeps us safe.
A lot of things that contributed.
You asked him, Margaret. So you're okay with them going into schools? If that's where the criminals are, I remember watching a movie, Bonnie and Clyde. People were like, why do you guys rob banks? It was a very simple, similar answer. Because that's where they keep the money. So it's very simple, Margaret. If that's where the people are that shouldn't be here, then we need to go there. Otherwise, you're telling them, here's what you do. You go ahead and hide in the church basement, and they can't come here. Man, these people are... I can't believe how dumb they are.
To higher energy prices, and there was record oil and gas production.
Yes, Joe Biden did many terrible things to lead to an increase in prices. I agree, Margaret.
No, but all the things you experience at the grocery store are what people touch and feel. That's what you were talking about, bacon on the campaign trail.
Of course.
January 26th at about 6:21 is as the time right now as we are making this video. Trump has been in office 5 days and 6 hours because he got inaugurated at noon. So it's like 5 days and 6 hours, thereabouts. So I've heard Rashida Tlaib, I've heard a bunch of these nuts on Twitter, hear her all saying, how come the prices are still high? And I'm thinking, what kind of mental gymnastics have these people had to go through to try and convince people that the prices should automatically be lower because Trump said he was going to lower prices when he got into office? Maybe y'all should still continue voting Democrat. Maybe you should keep saying this on the media because you'll never win another election. It's that simple. There's no possible way you can be this stupid. But actually, I mean, you can be.
Of course.
Those things, when do consumers actually get to touch and feel a difference in their lives?
Well, Margaret, how does bacon get to the grocery store? It comes on trucks that are fueled by diesel fuel. If the diesel's way too expensive, the bacon's going to become more expensive. How do we grow the bacon? Our farmers need energy to produce it. So if we lower energy prices, we are going to see lower prices for consumers, and that is what we're trying to fight for.
That was painful. That was absolutely painful, seeing somebody pretend to be that stupid. I know Margaret Brennan is not that stupid. I know she's playing a role, just like Petro from Colombia. They're all playing roles. They're all actors on stage, doing what their puppet masters have told them to do. They make absolutely no sense to people who have functioning frontal lobes. It's insane. I don't get why they do what they do. I don't really care. And that's where JD is at this point. Because the American people are seeing, the American people are understanding this is what we need to do to make America great again. And so that's what we're going to continue to do.